Hello and welcome to the Mortgage Broker Builder Show, the CEO 1440 show, where we look to maximize your 1,440 minutes every single day, help you grow your business above and beyond where it is today. And our premise inside of our group is we want to add maximum value without taking a ton of time. And I get a bunch of questions. I've been getting them more and more here as people are looking at planning out into what am I going to do to get business in 2025? And I've been getting a lot of questions on lead buys. Should I buy them? Should I not? So I went to the person that I feel knows more about them, has less vested in that. He doesn't care where you buy them. He's not out trying to sell you leads from a particular place. And I think is super transparent. I believe has raised or has brought in, or whatever they call it, generated 60,000 plus leads inside of 2024. And this is a gentleman, we use him ourselves at our company, and have a lot of people that use BankingBridge, super successful with it. So I want to welcome Mr. Jimmy King. How you doing today, Jimmy?
Awesome, John. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun talking to you. I'm always engaged with what you're saying. So excited to be here. Thank you.
I I am I am excited to have you just because I really think that there is a massive gap between where most of the lending world sits and even just buying their first lead. And a lot of people have went out, they've bought leads, and I hear from them all the time, hey, I tried to buy leads, it didn't work. And right, I can give them one of two answers. It doesn't work for you, or maybe you did it wrong. And I think often what it is, it's a combination of they didn't do it long enough, and they probably had some components in there that just weren't right. So what I was hoping to get from you today is kind of lead by 101. I'm a loan officer. I recently switched from, one of the big box places. I'm now a broker. These things are now falling back in my lap. I got to get my own website. I have to do these things, and just kind of wanted to get a little bit of background about you, but then just, where does somebody start? What do they do? What are the first steps? So we'll kind of start with your background. What is BankingBridge? How'd you get to that point? I guess we'll build from there if that's cool.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I was a loan officer for 15 years, believe it or not. It was my second job out of college. And I started in my birthday, May 1st of 2007, right right at the very beginning of the first kind of whatever you would call that, a crash-ish. And then I worked for a bank. So I worked at Bank of America, I worked at Regions Bank, and then my final stop was at Ameris Bank, and never got into the broker side. Was all builder business, was all real estate business, never bought a lead in my life. And then as we started to think about BankingBridge, I personally built BankingBridge with a buddy of mine, Jack, who, to help with my builder business. My builders needed payment flyers, and they had lots of inventory. It was hard to keep up with those things. They wanted to put rates on a flyer. Well, fast forward, we could never really sell that product again. It just didn't go anywhere. We sold it to the bank where I was working. But Jack and I were always thinking, hey, this idea of like rates, marketing with rates, people are very interested in seeing rates. It's like the thing that's behind the curtain. You have to call a loan officer to get your rate. And we really dove into that. And in 2020, with getting rates into lenders' websites. So that's kind of the foundation of BankingBridge, is the rate component. And then from there, how do you give value to the mortgage lender is, well, you got to generate leads. So if they're going to pay us money and we're going to put rates on their website, they need to be able to generate leads from that. And that's where we started. And most everything we do is all organic. It's really someone comes to your website, you want to keep them engaged, you're able to show them rate in a very interesting way, and that keeps them coming back. And our product is not for everybody. Some people are like, hey, I'm a retail guy. I want to fake hands and build relationships. Great. That's awesome. I did that. I totally get it. But the market, we feel like, is moving in the direction of consumers online. They want transparency. You can build trust faster with these folks. So that's how we kind of landed where we are today with lead conversion and rate display. As far as I know, there's not anybody out there doing exactly what we're doing the way we do it, which is good and bad. But we've got a niche. We've got a really big group of customers that love our product, and that's kind of how our story, our origin story, is starting with rates and then pushing into lead conversion from websites.
And when you say lead conversion, and I guess I'll just touch on a couple of other things. When we initially had conversations, it was around giving the client what they wanted, right? It was the height of the
Mhm.
COVID boom. Clients wanted rates. They wanted to see what you had. Just put them on the website, give them what they want, and so that's where it started. And then the rate alerts, right? Everybody that's a
Yep.
BankingBridge customer, clients have the ability to fill out some unique information based on their scenario and get custom rate alerts delivered to their inbox, like probably in perpetuity. If they wanted to stay in the program for 30 years,
Yep.
you'd give them rates for 30 years. But also, when you say websites, you deal a lot with people that are out buying leads and you're running
Mhm.
those landing pages that handle the conversion. So if I go and click on, bank rate or whatever it is, that just comes to mind, they'll you manage the landing page that my client would go to before ultimately filling out any intake form or anything. You're running that portion of it, correct?
Yeah. So 5 years ago, I knew nothing about leads, and I am now probably a lead expert because we had to become an expert in it, and we've talked to we work with big and small customers, and we've had the privilege of doing that, and looking at all these different lead sources. They're all, some are better than others, but they're all pretty good, and they all do it a different way. And the lead buying for lenders, buying leads for lenders outside of their commissions that they pay their loan officers or their people, is the most expensive piece of overhead that they have. It's the lifeblood of their business. And if they screw up a month and they don't have they spend $10,000 or $5,000 on leads and they get nothing in return, they're going to have a hard time staying in business the next month. So it's very critical that they align themselves with a lead provider that fits with their profile, like what they can perform well at. And it's really building a relationship with that lead provider. It's not jumping around every month to somebody new. What we have found is if you find somebody that is doing a good job, it's not, well, let me go run some Facebook leads. It's double down on that same lead source. If you're spending $2,000, spend $5,000 with them and get to the point where you can rely on that one group. They answer your phone calls. They give you better leads. They give you better times. Maybe they'll work with you if something comes up. If you can build a relationship as a mortgage lender with one or two lead sources and be uh, uh, what you would call, I guess, fall in love with them, you're going to get a lot better service from the groups. That's one thing. Um, but lead buying is expensive. You can't, if you're a small broker, you can't go and spend $500 a month on lead buying and expect to be successful. It's better not to spend that money. It's better just to save. That's one thing. Um, 6 months. That's the cost of doing business. It's the school of hard knocks. If you don't have that in your budget, then you're not ready. Just save it. Save the money until you have that available in your budget to where you can learn, because it's going to take you $6,000 to $8,000 to learn. That's it. You're gonna light that money on fire. You're gonna get leads, but you may not have the right technology in place, and you might need to reach out to them a different way. But I guess you have to be ready to spend $5,000 to $8,000 to learn the ropes. That that's that would be the first thing, uh, advice I would give.
Yeah. And I see people that sign up and begin doing leads and see instant ROI, right? But
Mm.
it's not a repeatable process. It's that they just happened to get a lead that was all laid out.
Right.
But I tell people, like, you got lucky on that. Assume that, right? You're going to get 50 leads and all 50 of them are buying in 6 to 12 months. And you now have to figure out a way to
Right.
maximize and capitalize on that for a closing, you know, May of
Month
2025,
from now.
and
Yes.
make that the expectation and not the norm, and then put everything in place to be able to do that. So with that kind of in mind, let's just kind of take a step back. There's two type of leads out there, and people get a little bit confused. You've got what I call long form. Maybe that's some old school, you know, 2006 term, but I've got a long form lead and I've got like pay per click type things. Um, and then maybe there's some short form stuff out there too with the changes, but kind of just give me the difference between those two.
Yeah.
And how people should approach that a little bit differently as well.
I always say like long form, short form, if you are buying leads from a third party, when you buy that data, 95% of the time, that lead has no idea who you are. Their data was sold to you. You're one of three lenders, two lenders that this group has sold leads to. And now your job is to reach out to that person really first. Like you have to, if you're going to buy that type of lead, you have to be ready to reach them immediately. It's feed the lead. I think, it's from the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. That's the same old fashioned way. You're going to call them twice. You're going to shoot them a text message. They're going to hit your CRM. They're going to get in you've got some really good email sequences built out. But if you don't have SMS, texting, and you're not ready to pick up the phone and call them, you need to be buying leads, and you don't need to buy long form leads. Now, the flip side of that is, which I like a lot better, is if rate table leads. Rate table leads are where your logo is up there against maybe 4 or 5 other lenders on a rate table, and your rates are piped into this high traffic website, and the consumer can go there and change up their parameters and they can see rates. And you're one of 5 lenders. That consumer self-selects you. They actually, click the button that says next to your logo that says, I want to take the next step. And then that lead is converted, whether it could be on a landing page that the mortgage company has, or the provider converts that lead. But that lead knows who you are. They're expecting you to reach out to them. That's the big difference between a rate table lead and buying a lead from maybe LendingTree or buying a lead from Mortgage Research Center. Those are long form. Those are short form leads. They have no idea who you are. So hopefully that helps distinguish the two.
Yeah. And what I would tell somebody, a long form lead, essentially you pay when you buy a lead for how many pieces of data you get. A long form lead, you're getting more pieces of data, right? If you had to go back 15 years ago on LendingTree, I paid more to get the full SOCH, right? I was getting extra data. I paid more. And let's say a long form lead runs you $40 to $75 today. Just right. I'll throw that out there. It's probably a fair assessment
In that ballpark.
yeah. The short form lead, I'm going to get less information. I'll pay a little bit less, but right. So let's say that's, 20 to 50. You're going to fall into that. But now I'm getting like pieces of data, where on a rate table, all they're doing is they're clicking on your logo and some rate that you've put out there. All of the conversion happens once they get to your website. You haven't gotten any data, and you pay every time they click there.
Click.
So
Yep. Cost per
having
click.
a very good conversion mechanism, when Jimmy talks about conversion, that's what happens when you get to that landing page. And you guys run, for people that are doing pay per click, the landing page they're going to is your landing page. It's not so I don't have to go into my Wix guy and build out a landing page, or, Rebel IQ
Right.
or whoever I'm using for my website. Long Digital, they're not building it out. You guys are handling that for me, correct?
That's right. And that's a good point. So you're paying cost per click. Usually it's $6 to $8, $9 cost per click. So it could take you on average, 10 clicks to get one lead. That's a good way to look at it. So if you're paying $7 per click, you're going to pay around $70, 10 clicks to get a lead. The landing page makes a big difference of the number of clicks that it takes to get a lead. If you have a bad landing page, if it's not optimized for mobile, or if it's just old, or it doesn't function correctly, or it looks out of date to the consumer, they're never going to fill it out. They're not going to go through the steps to do that. What we found is phone validation, not so much email, is phone. So we send out a 4-digit code. because you want to get a good lead. Like even like Lending Tree, they do validation now. Bankrate, they do validation. So one thing that we do is we want to make sure that the leads we do convert for our customers are good leads. Like it's not just junk. You've got to have a good landing page. You should send those leads to a landing page and not your website, because you could track it better on a landing page as well. And as a mortgage company, I would say you probably don't want to build your own landing page. It's better to have somebody else do that for you, because they're going to have a better design. They're going to know how to convert leads a little bit better than a mortgage lender could. That's been my experience, at least. So yeah, we provide the landing pages for I Can Buy. So if you're a lender and you want to be on the rate tables that I Can Buy publishes on sites like realtor.com, I think they do some stuff on Mirrored Wallet, Credit Karma now, we would provide you with the landing page from that click. And then it's consistent. What that helps with is every lender that uses BankingBridge landing page, it should be within this like tight window of 8 to 10 clicks or 10 to 12 clicks. One lender shouldn't have like 20 clicks and one lender has 7 clicks, and it should be aligned kind of in this nice tight shot for conversion. So it's much more predictable.
Takes a little bit of the guesswork out, right? If I was building it myself, I'd have to run an A/B test, see which one works better.
Right.
Do they like this version? You guys are doing it enough to where you get, like, if you're going to use something like this or someone to do it, they have enough experience to kind of give you the lessons without the scars, and that they keep tweaking what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And to that point, like the mortgage lender has to go run their business. Like it gets them up and running faster. We can get the landing page turned in a couple of days, so they can get into the campaign a lot faster as well. So whether you use us or somebody else, great. But usually if you use a third party to build your page, it's just going to come together faster.
Yeah, 100%. And I have clients that use you across the multiple, in different capacities. And I have not had anyone, come back. Like, I get good reviews all the time. Probably the reason that we're here talking, and that I bring somebody on and my name gets right associated with them. You guys sucked in that, right? That impacts me. So I want to make sure, and I've referred you to a whole bunch of people. So I think you guys do a really good job. And I have one guy that I bet he could convert close to 20% of his leads. He runs a super dirt low margin. Like, I mean, I don't want to say dirt, that sounds negative, but he runs a super low margin where he's, his biggest thing is he really doesn't execute on the back end. Leads come through, it's, 9 hours later, right? Like, and we'll get into like some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making. But, is there, like, I guess as you go to that rate table side, the interest rates that you charge matter a lot. And if you're trying to max out, like I tell people, if you're trying to max out your margin, don't do rate tables, because nobody's going to click on it anyways, right? If you're the most unattractive thing on the page, nobody's going to click on there unless maybe you've bought in, the last 25 years of JD Power Awards. Somebody might click on your lead. But if I have bought the last 25 years of JD Power Awards, I probably pay less cost per click than the little broker guy that's doing it. Or maybe it's even free, right? I'm just a token on there because I give you $1 million a quarter. So you're not playing in the same ballpark. But is there a suggestion that you have for margin? I know what I tell people. I'd be curious to see what yours is. Of if I am going to run rate tables, I'm a broker, I'm using, the Rockets, the UWMs, my rates are more or less the same as everyone else. I don't have some special deal. Do you know about where would you say somebody should put their margin to do this successfully? And do you have any insight into that?
Well, first of all, it has never been a better time to be a mortgage broker. I mean, if these guys, if you're successful and you're working at a bank or you're working at a large, non-bank out there, just next year, start your own brokerage, because you control so much of your destiny. The UWMs of the world, they maximize your efficiency. They do a fantastic job with just marketing and managing broker relationships. So that being said, you need to be in the top 3 to 4 of a rate table. So if you're looking at the rate table and you see the top 3 to 4, you need to be priced in that range. You don't need to be the top, you don't need to be the bottom, but if you can get in that top 4, you're going to get a lot of action. And if you are one of these guys that feels good about working for a slightly lower margin with a little bit more volume, then get as skinny as you can. Get the call in, get the phone call, um, get the relationship when you have the conversation with them, whether it's via email or SMS or phone. I would say customer acquisition is the most important thing, and you need to have competitive margins. So you need to be in the top, top 4, whatever that looks like. Is it 1%? Is it 1.5? Is it 1.25? I think it's somewhere in there. That's kind of what we see.
I like to tell people, if you're good at selling, again, right? It's, if you're in, like, here in Michigan, our average loan amount's like 200 grand. So that's a
Mhm.
lot different. Making 1 point on 200 grand is a lot different than making 1 point on, if your average loan amount might be 600,000 if you're in California.
Exactly.
So there's,
Exactly.
well, I tell people to try and target to where your average revenue per loan is at 5 grand. That seems to kind of land you in that spot. I don't know
Yep.
if that's right or wrong, but if your business model
Yep.
doesn't shake out, like, if you can't close loans at 5 grand and do it profitably, then stay away from that. If 5 grand,
Yep.
hey, your all in cost, even after your marketing expense, is 2 grand, and you pocket 3 every time you turn, you go past go on that,
Yeah.
like, just spend more and
It's
go
a
past
winner.
go faster and more often. But it's interesting to hear you say that. And that is one area for a broker. If they're purely brokering, right, you have to set your margins. But there are different ways, and maybe you can talk about this. Because I have my margin set one place, does not necessarily mean that I can have different
Exactly.
things on what I'm posting to those those rate tables and different stuff
Exactly.
through my pricing engine. Do I have to know how all that works, or do I kind of work with you and my rep at the place to make sure that things are dialed in for my margin, even if I'm going borrower paid or something like that?
Yeah, and we hear that a lot. Well, I don't want to put rates on the rate table because I can't, what if there's a realtor and they see me there and I can't charge them the whatever, don't, whatever the question is. It's like, kind of like if you're on Instagram and you get an ad and that ad says 20% off. And if you click the ad for the shirt that you like, it's only giving you that offer through the ad. If you go to their website, they don't get it on the website. So I think a lot of the consumers today are pretty smart in understanding the rates on this rate table are through this rate table. If I if I go to this guy's website, the rates might be different because it's not through this channel. Like, this channel allows me to have better pricing. That's one way to think about it, um, on that. But most of our brokers are using Loan Sifter,
Okay.
which I like Loan Sifter. The reasons why I like Loan Sifter is there's no contract. They can sign up online and they can self manage their entire account. They can add their investors. They can send off for approvals. They can manage their margins right in their Loan Sifter account. And then it flows over to our side. They can set their standard comp, and then they can set their BankingBridge comp, and they can be slightly different. And you're good. I Loan Sifter is very cost effective too. It's not expensive. And if it doesn't work for you, turn it off. There's no contract. There's no long-term commitment with them. So we've really gained a lot of traction with those users in the last year and a half.
Got it.
The broker bank.
And so, right, like, if I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about doing this, how, like, on a skill level, 0 being I know nothing, 10 being I'm a, chief operating officer and an IT guy, how much
Mhm.
skill do I need to be able to, like, set up a loan sifter, to get just the basic tech in place to be able to go out and buy leads? And am I going to, like, get a bunch of gray hair doing it?
Well, I think you know this too. Is like, if you're going to get into the mortgage, if you're going to become a mortgage broker, you have to wear a lot of hats. You just do. You got to be the support person. You got to be the salesperson. You got to be the underwriter sometimes, the processor. The life of a loan officer is doing a lot of different things. And I do think you do have to, you're going to have a learning curve. Um, it is not hard. It's like any technology. once you're in it for a day and a half, you kind of get it. But the first couple of hours can be frustrating. It's not, it's by no means complicated. Um, but you do need that, like setting up your CRM. That can be very frustrating, but after the first 3 to 4 days, you get used to it. Um, but I would say finding where you're going to buy leads from, to your point, it can be tricky because it feels like there's a lot out there. And then it feels like there's a lot of junk there. There's a lot of groups that sell you leads that are churned from other places. I don't know what's going on with some of these lead providers. My recommendation, find a budget. So what is your budget? I have $2,000. I have $5,000. And then typically that budget fits in to the lead provider. So getting on Bankrate for $2,000 a month is not possible. It's not really going to happen. Getting on NerdWallet for $2,000 or $3,000 is not going to happen. But there's a lot of good lead providers that will do 2, 3, 4, 5 grand. But you need to have that type of budget available. If you don't, like we talked about at the beginning, you're wasting your time.
And most of them now have minimum spends. So they have a minimum expectation each month. People,
Yep.
I know people that manipulate it a little bit, and that they're,
Yep.
they tighten down the filters to where they don't hit the minimum, but you at least had to
Mhm.
have that going into it. Right. And some of the people that sell leads would probably tell me not to say that, but I do see people, right? They tighten down their criteria, they tighten down their filters, they limit their lead spend a little bit, but you still have to be in a position to spend that much. And what I would say, after seeing people do this multiple times, this is probably something where if you decided you wanted to start buying leads and have it dialed in by January 2nd, right? You were going to get wasted on New Year's night, but the second you were like going to hit it, it's definitely very doable to get all of that super dialed in, working really well over like a 1 to 2 week period, and everything,
Yes.
like give yourself that much
Right.
time, because you still have other business to run. But this is
Yep.
not something that you have to do 1,000 things.
Months and months and months.
And,
Yeah, it is. It's true.
and there are CRMs that have things very dialed in for you out of the box. They've already got cadences and stuff put in place to give you a running start, so you're not starting at ground zero. And do you have a
Mhm.
CRM? I'm sure you work with a bunch. Do you have like a couple that you like without, endorsing them?
Well, there's so many out there that do a good job. Like the old saying is, the best CRM is the CRM that you actually use. So many groups, I have this one, and they don't have it hooked up yet, or they haven't done any sequences in it yet. To me, if you're new and you're thinking about opening up your own company, or you're in your first year, your CRM should the first thing that you buy. I mean, it is the most critical part of your business. It's got all of your closed loan database. You build your nurture campaigns. Like, before you buy anything, your first lead, your first realtor out to lunch, you need a CRM. That's key. There's a bunch of good ones, and they're all, for me, they all kind of do 80% of the same thing. And then there's that 20% that specialize in some cool stuff. But any of the ones that you're going to pay $100 and $150 a month for, I think are going to do a good job. But that's the number one thing that you need. And then right after that is your website. You got to have a website. You got to have a modern website. You may not think you need it. I never had a website. I don't know. You need a website. You're a company. It's your front door now. You need to update your website every week. Put something new. Post videos in there. Keep it fresh. Those two things are critical to your business, and then it's everything else after that. BankingBridge is further down the list. Like, it's probably number 4 or 5. If you're going to be buying a lot of leads, you need us. But it's not like day one, I'm going to get BankingBridge. There's a couple of things you need to have in place before you would add a service like ours.
Got it. I would agree. I mean, I think that the CRM is right. That allows you to conduct and do all of your sales functions. If your
Yeah.
business isn't doing sales, it's dying, right? It doesn't,
Yep.
and you can do sales from, you don't even need a calculator. You can get by with an abacus, a Post-it, right? Like whatever you have there, you can run call reports in Excel, but you really can't function without, some way to manage your clients. Um,
Mhm.
so okay, you wouldn't endorse one. Interesting.
Hey, if you're here, it's because you understand that the world is changing at an alarming rate, and you understand that big data is going to dominate as we move forward. Either you're going to use it to grow your market share, or somebody's going to use it against you to grow theirs. If you want to dig a little bit deeper here, take a look at your own business, figure out and identify some key constraints, maybe some things that you could do a little bit differently to grow a little faster. Here's what I can tell you. After 27 years of doing this, helping well over 1,000 loan officers earn hundreds of millions of dollars in commissions, there are a couple of key constraints inside of your business. I don't know what they are right now. I just know that they exist. So if you're curious about this, let's get on a strategy call. Take 20, 30 minutes. You will walk away with one or two actionable items that you can do more business as you move forward. There'll be a link someplace here on the page. I look forward to personally meeting you.
Well, I can give you some names, like Shape does a great job. Bonzo does a great job. Roku, they're doing a lot of stuff on the direct to consumer side. They're doing a great job. Accelerate for, if you're bigger, a little bit bigger, and you're looking to spend some money on the enterprise level, those guys do a very good job. So that, you could use HubSpot, you could use Salesforce. I mean, they're different animals, like different beasts, but I personally like VRMs that give you templates out of the box where you can just turn it on and there's something in there that says, click this button to tell these people happy birthday. I don't have to write a bunch of stuff. So HubSpot, Salesforce, they don't have that. You have to build all that stuff. And it's a big undertaking. But services like Bonzo and Shape and Roku, they give you a lot of stuff out of the box, which is the way to go.
And there are some too, right? And I try not to endorse anyone specifically either, just because what might be right for me is not right for the next person. There are some very good people that are building platforms inside of Go High Level as well, that are building out the snapshots, and they give you everything that you need. Just understand all CRMs are not created equal. Do a little bit of digging as far as what do you actually get? How long does it take to set up? What's the implementation, and how much do I have to do on my end to actually get this up and working? Because there are a lot of people that spend a couple $100 a month on their CRM, and they rotate out of them every 6 months and never actually use it. So at that point, you've just wasted $1,200.
I never understood the cycling of CRMs, because how we know is we send leads into CRMs. And part of our thing is the integration between BankingBridge and the CRM. So we know when lenders are jumping around, and it's like, why are you moving from one to the other? It happens more than you think. And I would say one of the biggest headaches for a small company is switching technology. Try to make what you have work, because there's a lot of other lenders that probably are making it work, and it's probably not the software, it's probably you. And you need to figure out what are you doing wrong in the software that isn't doing what you want it to do. So I don't like hopping around from technology to technology.
I think that might stop a little bit. I saw it quite a bit when people were charging large dollar amounts for like API calls and configuration and setup, right? If I was on this CRM and, they were going to charge me $4,000 to integrate with Lending Pad or whatever it was, like there was a big expense to stay on it, and somebody else was doing it for free, or somebody else already has an integration in place. So people are, instead of like figuring out how Zapier works and how the integration piece works, they just keep jumping around, which I see that. And then I also think that some of these CRMs sell it as having a lot more capacity or capability that it does, and then people can never figure out how to do it. And so they try for a couple of months, they never get it set up, they get frustrated, and it just churns out, right? They pay for a couple of months and then they leave. And they pay for a couple of months at the new one, and most of it's probably on the person, but and that's a lot of my coaching, right? Is that I help people actually get in there, stick with it, keep going, stay with it long enough to actually start seeing the return, because you will eventually, right? It will start to work.
And hey, you're going to spend your first year, it's a school, like we talked about earlier, it's a school of hard knocks. We had it at BankingBridge. I think every company has it. You're going to blow money. You're going to spend money on bad ideas. It's part of the business. And I think that's just part of learning. It's part of the process, is to screw up and try to fix it and not blame yourself on it and move forward. If you buy a batch of bad leads or you work with a group that you didn't feel was honest or whatever, okay, great, no big deal. Like find the ones that are and chalk it up to, the first year of learning.
Yeah. I think that, right, people go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college for 4 years. But then when they're building their business, they don't want to spend, just a little bit. I did a social media post yesterday about your Lonnie, which I refer to it as a Lonnie instead of, like, people always want to know what's the ROI on BankingBridge or what's the ROI on having live rates that are updated on your website. It's like, I don't know, but I can tell you that there's the Lonnie is the loss on non-investment. So it's, right, there's an opportunity cost when you don't have those things. How much business do you lose as a result of it? And, often people don't look at that. So think that it's definitely important. So here's a question for you. If you were starting a mortgage company today, right, you had to go back to originations and you had, let's say you had 15 grand was your budget for the next 6 months. That was for your tech stack, your website's going to cost you $150 a month. So let's say, right, just basic tech is going to run you 500. So that leaves, whatever, let's say it's $2,500 a month, $3,000 a month. And you had to get cash flow positive pretty quick because that money's going to run out and you're out of business. What would be, and you said before, like you'd get your CRM and those things dialed in, but what would you personally do to begin driving leads, generating revenue where you had to like get money today, but also building stuff out for the future? What would that look like for Jimmy King Mortgage if you were opening up, a new shop today?
I would run super lean and I would take that money and I'd spend it on I can buy on rate tables. And I would be in the number 1 or 2 position. And I would buy as many leads as I can. And if I burn through that money in 2 months, I should have 200 leads to show for it or something. That's what I would do. I wouldn't hire support yet. It would just be me. It would be, like you said, the basic technology that you need, one good lead provider, and I would run those leads through my CRM and go that route. That's what I would do.
And if it was you, what would you be targeting as far as, so let's say you did buy 100. What is your conversion to close loan on that 100 leads sitting in that 1 to 2 spot?
Yeah.
What do you think you would be targeting for your personal conversion?
I would want to know, the first metric would be like conversation rate before closing, or how many of these 100 leads am I having a conversation, which means, is it SMS? Did they respond to an email, or did we talk on the phone? Like that's the first number that is the most important number, because the higher you can get that number, that means typically the higher your closings, or maybe it's the next metric would be applications from those people. But and that's a good early indicator. If you're buying leads from a source and for 2 weeks, you don't have any conversations, that's not good. That's not good, because it's going to take you, like you said, 6 months before you might get a closing, or 90 days. But if you're not having any conversations, you should know that within the first week or 2. And then you can have a conversation with your account manager of that group. Say, man, I got all these leads. I haven't heard from you. Here's what I'm doing. I send out these text messages, blah, blah, whatever. But that's what I would focus on first. The first metric would be the conversations percentage of these 100. How many of these people have I connected with at all? Have they told me go to hell? Have they told me this is great, you got the best rates, like all of that?
Yeah. And that's a really key thing is, people often want to call a lead, 22 pieces, the TRID 6 information. Like a lead is a phone number, a name, not even a first and last name, a first name and a phone number, or a first name and an email. And if you can get any form, like any sense of life on the other end of the phone, like that's a really good, that's a valid lead. So you're just saying, right, there's some kind of response, something that indicates like they're out there, they're alive and real. What would you look for that to be?
Well, it's interesting. Like we rolled out this SRSMS, AISMS a couple of months ago, And we can track, we have links in the SMS that are clickable, like a dashboard link, or there's another little thing that they can click. And then it sends off an event back to the loan officer who says, hey, this person may have not talked to you, but they clicked the link. So they're alive. They're looking at rates. They're not super hot, but they're not cold. They're warm. So you need to keep, maybe they're not answering your phone, maybe they're not responding to SMS, but they are clicking links and they are going to their dashboard. Things like that give you an indication of the quality, just the interaction of the lead. But you definitely want to have some back and forth. That's the next step is, am I getting any engagement with my outreach at all? Are they responding to me on that side of things at all? Would be a really good indicator if the lead source that you're buying leads from is pretty good. 100 leads. Well, I'd say 50 leads. You need to get to 50 leads as fast as you can. Because if you get to 50 leads quickly, that's a big enough pot of people that you should get a good feel for the type of lead that you're getting, the conversions, the conversations that you're having from 50. The thing that I hate is when somebody's like, I got 20 leads last month from this source. Well, 20 leads isn't enough. It's just not. You got to get to 50, 60 or more to really get a good idea of if it's worth it for you to continue with them, with that lead provider.
And 50 leads would probably run you about $3,000, right? If you're figuring 60 to
Yep.
$70 per,
That's right.
X number of clicks at $6 to $8 a click, or, you're looking at, you're going to get that many leads inside of your thing there. And then really, so that's step number one. And that's where you kind of fall, right? You can't convert and sell the lead, and don't hold it against your marketing guy if you can't sell alone because of your skill set. That's another, right? That's like a key pointer that I know a lot of marketing people get very like, I'm being judged for their lack of execution. It'd be like a gym owner getting judged for your body composition, right?
Uh-huh.
They're not in there doing the reps. Like a certain part of
Right.
that falls back to you. Any suggestions that you would give to people? And I've been having people doing lead buys, doing 3 video sequences independent of what they're doing inside of their CRM. And I'll give them to you. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Again, videos that are 30 seconds to a minute and a half that they can send out via text, like a bomb type thing. We use different technologies, but the first one is the why me video, right? If I'm a 55-year-old man, I've been in the business for 25 years. I've helped thousands of people. I served in Vietnam. I didn't, but I'm almost old enough to, right? I served in Vietnam. I did whatever it is. People are going to make associations, and that's only going to help my conversion. There's probably also a subset of the world that's just not going to deal with me, right? When they look at my video, they're going to make that determination, or after I've made them 35 calls and I get on the phone with them, they're just going to be like, I don't like what this guy looks like. He's, So thing number one, I try to have, because as I'm dealing with these small brokers, they may not be the fastest. Rocket Mortgage is going to be more like they're going to be more savvy. They're going to beat your ass every time there. So don't play at their game, be what they can. And that's a real human being that has real things that really care. So I tell people, and I'd love your feedback on this, send that out within, as quickly as you can within getting the lead. Call it. If they don't, send them that personalized message. Start with SMS, but set it up inside of your CRM. And if you can, send the individual, like make the message for them. Hey, I can see you're in Tempe, Arizona. You're looking at, whatever data you have, tie it in there, send them the most personalized message you can, right? You only got $3,000 to spend. So put your whole oomph into the $3,000. Don't try to automate a message when you don't need to yet. So that's message number one. Message number two is a couple days later, I reach back out and I say, I sent you a personalized message. I'm sure you don't hate me and you're just busy, right? Make it a little funny. You're real. And I go into then, most people have websites that have a place for them to go and get a second look. So I try to drive them to a second look type thing. Like Maybe you found somebody that's awesome. You don't know what I have to offer yet. Check it out. Here's a place. You can go ahead. I'd love to give you a second opinion or talk to you. So again, make it welcoming. And then a few days later, we have inside of my coaching group, a FinLocker app called the Fin Toolbox, which is kind of a all in encompassing. It's, a whole bunch of different apps, but I think probably the best in breed for somebody that's maybe 3 to 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out to really nurture them along. And I just make the assumption if it's been 5 days, they clicked on my stuff, they're not calling me back and it's a purchase, it's because they're probably not actually ready to call me back. And so I try to give them another vehicle to go ahead, give me some more data. A refinance, I might go in and tell them like, hey, I'm sure you're still out there looking. The app works, or you can sign up for rate alerts. But I try to hit them with 3 very specific messages inside of a 7 to 10 day window. What are your thoughts on that? Because that's not automated by a CRM or anything. That's just pure, I'm going to outwork you for the lead. Because if I am spending, and I want to convert these at 10%, for every 100 leads I get, I want 10 closings. I don't want 1 closing. I don't want 2. I actually want to get 70% of the people on the phone. These would be my metrics. I want 70% of them to interact with me, at least have some kind of conversation, whether that be to tell me to go fly a kite. Because the worst lead is one you never get a hold of. Because I don't know what to do with that one. If you tell me I'm all set, great, I can check you off the list. If you tell me you want to move forward, better yet. But not knowing what to do, you just sit out there and you just are a weight on my shoulder. So those would be my metrics, right? I'd want 70% to interact with me. I'd want to get to them within a 10-day window. And then beyond that 10-day, I would just have them in, some kind of nurture campaign, constantly trying to drive them back either to, rate alerts or my Fin Toolbox app to some piece of tech that could nurture and monitor them along. HomeBot is another one, something. What are your thoughts on kind of that playbook, running it that way?
Well, video is the most powerful thing you can send somebody. And a lot of time, I think that's what you just described is what everybody should do. Here's why you do business with us. Hey, I'm Jimmy. I want your business. I'm different than everybody. Thanks for checking me out. I got 3 kids, I grew up here in Charleston, whatever it is. That is the most powerful thing you can do. It's a differentiator. Nobody else is going to do it. 90% of the competition is not going to do that. I think that's great. Another reason is most of these guys, these brokers, the reason they want to leave these big companies is because they don't have any autonomy. They have no control to do anything they want to do. When you open up your own, the whole point of it is so that you can do things like you just said. You can send out this personalized message. You don't have to run it through 18 layers of bureaucracy to get it approved. And it's exactly what everybody should be doing, is using video to build a relationship with people. 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That is the way to go. And you're right. You've only got $3,000. Everybody should get a video. Maybe the second one isn't personalized. The first one should be. But man, if you're doing that and you're losing, then at least you can say you tried your hardest, because the video stuff is very powerful. And I would definitely recommend that on that side of it. And transparency. Like you said, here's who I am. Go to my website, run pricing here. You can check out fees. It's all right here. I'm here to answer any questions if you need me. That type of thing is great.
Yeah. And
in a video.
And every single human being out there, if you're in this space, you can find 1 to 3 differentiators, what that make you special. And I don't care if you just started yesterday, you have things. I just became a loan officer. I may not know everything, but here's one thing I can commit to you. I am going,
I think that's right. Like whatever it is.
I've got fantastic, I understand my shortfalls. Therefore I have fantastic rates. I may not have all the answers, but I will work damn harder than the guy that's running around with his, 72 years of mortgage experience. And he's still got a pager. Like, I may not have that, but I've got something else. So everybody has something, and you can sit there and rev up the engine forever, but there comes a point you just got to drop that sucker down and drive and hold on. Drive it like it's stolen. And if buying leads is something that you want to do, it works for the people that work it. And if you are looking for an easy button, there is no easy button. Buying leads is not the easy button. Running SEO, there's There's nothing out
Right.
there. It all needs to be worked. And there's probably some certain threads that you can pull across multiple ways. And even if you are going to buy leads, like you're buying leads for business today, but you also then have those, if I wanted to convert 10 out of 100, I still need a really solid game plan for the other 90 that I'm not going to convert today,
Yeah.
because I want to convert another 10 of those over the next 3 years. And that's right. That goes into just, building out your business and getting better and becoming a better version of yourself day in, day out. If you've got questions about doing that, and we're getting close to wrapping up here, but if you've got questions about doing that and want to like actually sit down with me, I do these little coaching sessions where we look at key constraints inside of your business. Everybody's business has a bottleneck or a constraint or the one thing that's holding you back more than anything else. I'm happy to get on a call with you. There'll be a link someplace on here, my website, where you can get on a call. We've got some really cool things. I'll include a bunch of Jimmy stuff. If you want to explore getting BankingBridge on your website, all the tools, the stuff they have to offer on the back end. He's a wealth of knowledge. You want to reach out to me about it. I have a lot of different clients that buy leads from different places, all with varying results. When people, somebody loves somebody and somebody else hates them. I could be on 2 calls within the same day and they have a love-hate relationship for, it's like Coke and Pepsi. But so kind of with that there, I mean, I think that we've covered a lot here. Any questions that I maybe should have asked you or that people might have that I just neglected to ask?
Well, I think a lot of people right now are, if I had to do it all over again in my mortgage career, I would have gone through the 5 years that I think every loan officer needs to be at a big company to learn the ropes, to screw up on somebody else's dime. And I would have opened up my own thing at 5 years. Earlier, the better. And there's just being a broker in today's world, you have such an advantage. You have such an advantage. You control your own destiny. The margins are there. The money's good. The lifestyle is very good. So I think if you're out there and you're thinking about, I want to own my own company. I want to control my own destiny. Being a broker, there's a lot of guys that they're not the smartest guys in the world that are doing successful. There's a lot of guys that are the smartest guys that are being successful. It's all walks of life. But if you're thinking about making the plunge, definitely do it. And you'll be looking back at 3 or 4 years and it'll be the best thing you ever did.
Yeah. And the goal for mortgage bankers, there's more and more opportunities today where you can be an entrepreneur running your own thing. There are also a lot of really good solutions that allow you today to be an intrapreneur, where you're more or less just hanging your license underneath somebody else. And they allow you a lot of autonomy, not 100%, but you also, right, that lack of autonomy you give up, you actually are giving up a little bit of risk that they're taking on as a company. But there's just a lot of very good options out there. And people, you're not as saddled as maybe you used to be, where there's a lot of different paths forward and you just have to find the best path forward for you. And then any investment you make in yourself, unless you plan on getting out of the business in the next 6 to 12 months, if you learn to become a little bit better at sales, that's a skill you take forever. If you learn to edit and make those videos that I was talking about, that's a skill that you now have that skill set forever. And all these skills begin to compound. And, you'll look back at 20 years, in 20 years, I'll be in my 70s, but I hope to have a much larger lever to where I'll be able to do a lot more stuff, even though I might be old and frail, but I'll have all these additional skills. So every day when you wake up with the goal of ending the day with more skills, understanding lead buys, understanding, rate table, understanding why the bond market moves in a different way. Just get constantly better. And your only goal is to stay in business. Jimmy can help you there. You have me feeling right now, like stepping back and just like saying, I'm just going to write, I'm just going to buy a bunch of leads and just go and go wild and just write a bunch of loans. Sorry, everybody that I'm checking out. I'm back to my loans every day.
It works. If you can figure out your margins, you can have a pretty good business, buying leads, rate table stuff.
Yeah. I know people that have been successful buying leads the whole entire way, here over the last couple of years, they've been able to consistently stay above water, make money month in, month out, not as much as they made in the boom times, but still making a decent living month in, month out. I also know people that bought leads 100%, abandoned it completely, and have created and built thriving businesses, 100% realtor referral. And the one common thing between both of them is that both of them had a little bit of GER, and they just wrote it out and they just kept grinding away, just kept kind of chopping at it, even with a dull axe. Like, you knock that tree down eventually. So, well, this has been great. I will put out some links. And if anybody has questions for myself, Jimmy, what's the best place for people to find you? Is it LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's very good. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. BankingBridge is very active on LinkedIn. And then also our website, bankingbridge.com. We've got a lot of great videos, got a lot of great stuff, interactive things going on there. You can learn a lot about our product at our website. So, LinkedIn, reach out to me. We'd love to talk to you and see, if we're a fit for you.
And the last question is, who's kind of like your ideal client? Is it an individual loan officer? Is it more kind of like at the company level?
I would say the last year it's been the broker side of things. It's a person that really wants to spend a little bit of money on advertising.
Okay.
Because you have to generate traffic somehow, some way to get, or buy leads to get value out of BankingBridge. If you don't have any website traffic and you're not buying leads and you don't really have CRM, like you're not going to need us. So if you're out there, if you're active lead buying, if you're active on any type of, if you're buying leads from third parties or you're on rate tables, we are a really good way to put more fuel on the fire for those leads that you're already buying. We can help you just get more out of that lead buying.
Well, we'll leave it and we'll put a Metallica song in here. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. How I feel like listening to Metallica. Well, this has been great. I truly appreciate it. Like I said, if lead buys are in your future in 2025, reach out. I'd love to help you. Jimmy can help. There's a lot of resources out there. Stop revving up that engine, throw it and go, and let's make some stuff happen. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thanks, John. See ya.
If you're still here and you're watching this, you're probably getting something from our content. If so, maybe or I'm sure someone else that could also benefit. So if you could do us a solid, forward this, share it with your friends, other people that are like-minded that want help with simple solutions to grow their business. And if you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive someplace on here, there is a place to schedule a call with us to talk about your business and how we can grow it together. Look forward to hearing from you. Again, thank you for being here. Please do share.